If your pet is less of an animal and more of a full-blown family member, then this episode is for you. Whether you're dreaming of a beach vacation with your dog or figuring out how to survive a flight with your cat, traveling with pets takes a little extra planning and a lot of the right information.
I'm your host, Angie Orth, and today we're talking all things travel with your furry companions.
From packing the perfect pet travel kit to finding destinations that truly welcome your travel buddy. My guest is Scott Taylor, president of Spot Pet Insurance, a company on a mission to help pet owners build healthier, happier lives with their pets. Scott knows firsthand what it takes to keep pets safe and protected, whether they're at home or halfway across the country. From preparation and pet etiquette to what to do when things don't go as planned, Scott is here to make sure you and your pet travel smarter. Scott, I am so excited to be here at Spot Pet Insurance headquarters in Miami. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, well, thanks for coming in. We're excited to host you and talk about how important it is to have pet insurance, and especially traveling with your pet, and what the do's and don'ts are and what you should be thoughtful about.
And you're the expert on that, so let's dive in.
I have personal experience with a lot of that, so it helps to qualify me as an expert.
So before we dive into the questions about traveling with pets, tell me about yourself and kind of how you got here and what is life like with your pets?
Oh, sure. So president of Spot Pet Insurance, was here pretty much since we started 6 years ago. We recently hit our 1 millionth pet covered, which is an exciting milestone for us. Longtime partners of AAA as part of that. I was formerly in the human life and health side, and I learned about pet insurance almost 10 years ago, and really never thought of making a career change over to pet insurance. But when I learned about the industry, how fast it was growing and the need for pet insurance, it was an easy transition. I've never looked back. It's been such an amazing career change.
Well, and you have an experience with a need for pet insurance. I heard you have a Labrador who really likes sandwiches. So tell me that story.
Yeah, I do, Angie, and his name is Stone. And this is him over my right shoulder here. He's now 11 years old, and he's had a couple of different instances of eating things he shouldn't have, which is not uncommon for Labradors. And part of the reason why he's not in the office with us today, because he was in the office one morning and I slacked everybody, our internal messaging, and said, we've got a very not well-trained lab, which is my fault as a pet parent. Please, please, please don't leave any food unattended. And unfortunately, this poor staff accountant got up to go to the break room to get a soda with his lunch and left a club sandwich with toothpicks on his desk. And Stone scarfed it up.
Ate the whole thing.
And the next day was showing some signs of not feeling well. Took him into the vet, and $10,000 later, Stone was fine. That's the good news. And he would do it all over again if he had the opportunity.
Sure.
But, it really hit home the importance of having pet insurance, because while we would have paid that $10,000 out of our own pocket without blinking an eye, when you're worried about his health, your family's health, your health mentally, taking that one worry away of the financial component of it was just so important, and it really validated the need for our pet insurance and our coverage. And that wasn't the only time he's had eaten stuff that he hasn't. There was another $5,000 bill in there. There was a broken tooth in there. So he's the poster child for why pet insurance is important.
Yeah, I feel like as a pet owner, it's not about if you need it, it's just when, because pups are going to do what they're going to do. And, they don't necessarily know how to take care of themselves or avoid eating toothpicks, or like my pup last week, a piece of avocado wood. Not a good thing for a Pomeranian. So it's very important. And I'm really glad that we're talking about this. And we're talking about travel and traveling with pets. So how has your work here at Spot Pet shaped the way that you think about taking your pets on the road or traveling with them?
I think I'm now hypersensitive to it, Angie, where I was in the past when we first got him. I really wasn't tuned into the dangers of traveling with your pet. And being here at Spa and hearing all the stories from employees about some of the challenges that they face with traveling with their pet, some of my own experience with traveling with him. And just, in my career, I hadn't had the opportunity to have a pet full time before this guy. I had him when I was a kid, but really between looking at all the claims I see and our own stories, really emphasize the importance of having, just being careful and being smart when you're traveling with your pet.
Well, let's start there, because when someone decides they want to bring their dog or their cat on vacation, what are some things they should ask themselves before they do that? Like before they even start packing?
Yeah, I think they need to make sure first and foremost that the pet is going to be comfortable with that, whatever mode of transportation they're planning to take. If they're driving, how is he or she in the car? Should he be crated or not crated? Cats, for example, always a good idea to crate them. So the transportation aspect of it and the pet's health, and then that really is probably the most important factor. And then just making sure that the environment for that pet where you're going is comfortable and not stressful for them.
And not every pet is a natural traveler. Some pups just jump right in the front seat and they love it and it's the best. But some, it's really stressful for them, and they get motion sickness. They get all sorts of stress. So how do you know if your pet is ready, and how can you sort of train them for that?
I think it's doing and that's so true. This guy especially, when we moved from Minnesota to Florida with him, it was a long drive, and it was, in hindsight, it was pretty stressful. He developed some skin conditions after he arrived that we had to take him in the vet to take care of. So that stress is something that we weren't tuned into before we started, but we're more so now. And I think it's just doing some trial trips with the pet and seeing how they're going to react, and then managing that throughout the process.
Health and safety are such a big part of prepping, and knowing, what's wrong with your dog, what they like, what they don't like. So what should people do with their vet before a trip with pets?
It's important to make sure that all their shots are up to date, that they're vaccinated. It's always good pet parenting to make sure you get your annual shots and just stay up to date with all that stuff. It's important for, if you're flying with a pet, they'll require those records as well. If you're having to board a pet, as if you like not to bring them because they're a stressful environment or that trip isn't right for them, it's important for boarding to have their vaccinations up to date as well.
Are there any considerations about how far in advance a pet needs to, say, be vaccinated or medicated before they travel?
Traveling internationally with your pet, there's really a lot of research you have to do around, do they have quarantines? What vaccinations? So there's probably some more lead time as it relates to international travel, because there are a lot more restrictions and things to think about as it relates to international travel.
Yeah, I would say
especially on a plane, but even more so if you're going to other countries. Important to understand the regulations and the requirements that are to do that successfully.
It would probably be hard to do on a whim, to travel internationally.
You definitely want to be well prepared for that, for sure.
Well, let's talk about packing when you travel with your pet. Are there some non-negotiables that every pet owner should be packing and bringing on a trip, like in a travel kit, whether they're driving or flying?
100%. I think it's important for the pet to have a comfortable space. So let's assume for a minute it's we take our pet over from the east coast of Florida to the west coast, which is about a 3-hour drive, and we make sure we have his food, his medication with us. We make sure he has one of his favorite toys to keep him comfortable, his little doggy bed in the back to make him comfortable. We bring a first aid kit. We understand where we're going to stop along the way so that we can plan his rest breaks and potty breaks, and just get all of us out to just stretch our legs a little bit, but to really plan that out across the trip, the 3-hour trip over there. And then a collapsible water ball. Water bowl, it's very important for the pet to be hydrated through that journey.
It's good to think about the rest stops in advance.
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times we've been in the car with our pups, and even on an hour drive, if they didn't potty enough, boy, you're going to hear about it. And then you have to find somewhere to go on the fly. And then maybe you don't know how safe it is. So,
and you can even check to see where they have, a doggy area as part of that when you're going through the journey. Also important, and I learned this lesson the hard way one time, before you get in the car, make sure you give them adequate time to go potty beforehand, because that's nothing worse than starting a road trip with an accident in the back.
Nope, that does make things challenging all the way, no matter how.
Not a good way to start the drive.
No, it doesn't bode well for the rest of the trip.
No.
That's for sure.
Well,
So I've never flown with my dog. I have some trepidation about that. So what can you tell me about what people should know about airline policies and just flying with your pets?
it's important to plan ahead again, and you can, whichever airline you're going on, you should really research what their policy is, because there's pretty standard for the most part, but there's some nuances amongst airlines. So it's important to be tuned into those. Large dogs, unless they're service animals, might have to be in the baggage compartment, as an example. Most small dogs, as long as they're in a ventilated carry case, can be shoved under your seat and allowed. Service dogs that are bigger also are typically allowed in the cabin. I can remember sitting there one day, and it was on a pretty long trip too. And this was early when pets were just starting to be allowed in the cabin. And I was kind of dozing off, and I saw something streak by on the aisle, and I'm like, is that a pet? And it was a little miniature Dober Pinscher. It had gotten kind of out of its crate and was running up and down the aisle.
Got the zoomies.
Yeah. Another time I looked over, and there was literally a dog bigger than him, probably 100-pound dog, just kind of sitting in the seat across from me, sitting there. He was a service animal. So it's important to understand what's allowed and what's not allowed. And then beyond that, I had one personal experience with our original Spot dog. So when we first started the company, we had adopted a little bit of a Chihuahua mix that had a big black spot on its forehead. And we got him at 10 weeks old. He was delivered to the office. He was my pet for a period of time, for like 5 days. And then I had to deliver him to our celebrity trainer that we were partnered with at the time, Cesar Millan, to Caesar's Ranch in California.
Okay.
So had to make sure that I had all his snacks, a crate for him, a water bowl with me. Had to make sure that there was potty materials, because he was just a small puppy. I had to look ahead. We were connecting in Atlanta, so I had to make sure that I knew where the rest stop was in the airport. And I tell you, at 10 weeks old, he was the best little boy ever. I got him there fine. And he did his business in the Atlanta airport. Never heard a peep out of him otherwise. And it was a pretty amazing experience. It was really tore my heartstrings to hand him off, but it was still a nice experience. And part of that was preparation.
There's a difference between a pet-friendly destination and just a destination that allows pets. So what's the difference, and what should people look for?
Each breed is different sizes. So sometimes there's size requirements. There's I've run into some breed restrictions as an example to be careful of. So some of the more aggressive breeds, they may not allow, mostly size requirements. And then when you're going there, just make sure that it's a comfortable, stress-free environment. Ideally, if they've got a place to walk the dog or a park nearby. If you're going to the beach, it's important to understand where the nearest dog park is, where the beaches are friendly as part of that. And being here in Florida, there's lots of great dog beaches, but it's important to look before you go, so you can enjoy the time with your pet.
That's a good point, because not all beaches are dog friendly.
100%.
Yeah. And sometimes there's time restrictions. I think my beaches, they can come up till 8 a.m., but then no dogs until the evening again. So that's a good thing. You don't want to get a ticket when you're traveling and you just didn't know.
Or assume that you're going to be able to take them to the beach, and then it's 15, 20 miles away.
Sure. And then they're just stuck in the hotel.
Or wherever.
That's not what they want.
100%.
So speaking of hotels, when it comes to booking, is there something pet owners should look for beyond the pet-friendly tag? And should they call the property directly? Is there any specific questions they should be asking?
It's always it can't hurt to call the property directly. I would say that's probably a good practice. And then I mentioned before the breed restrictions, some and size requirements, but it's really helpful if you understand where they're going and what's going to make it a stress-free, enjoyable trip for both you and your pet.
We kind of touched on road trips already. Is there anything else pet owners should know about keeping their pets safe and comfy on a long stretch in the car?
Regular rest trips, be careful when you're taking them out for walks because it's a new environment. There's things that they might eat while they're there or get into, and just want to be careful to monitor their stress level. Make sure that if you're at your destination, if there's a vet hospital nearby, just to be thoughtful about all the things that could go wrong. Just plan for those eventualities, I think is important.
Always good to bookmark a close by emergency vet, just in case, because you never know.
And with our policy too, I think on the emergency side, with Spot Pet Insurance, we have a vet telehealth line as part of it. So an example is if you're traveling and they get into something and they're showing some signs of discomfort or anything that's concerning, you can call our vet telehealth line and speak to a vet and say, hey, I'm seeing this. Should I go find that emergency clinic now? Should I monitor him? And they're very good at triaging experiences.
Helpful, especially when you're on the road. What if you're in the middle of nowhere, and you're not close to just like an easy to get to emergency vet? That must be so helpful to make that call. So you don't always know what the call is.
Absolutely. If anyone's driven across the state of Florida, there's nothing but a lot of cows and orange trees. Yes. So you definitely, that extra level of comfort is great.
You could be a few hours away from an emergency vet. It's nice to just get somebody on the phone and tell you if your concerns are maybe over the top like mine sometimes are. Well, let's talk about etiquette. What are some of the rules on the road for pet owners who are traveling when it comes to being considerate of other guests, of the public, other travelers?
I think it's important to make sure you pick up after your dog when you
That's a big one.
when you're traveling. Make sure you're prepared with I forgot to mention this when traveling, but make sure you've got a nice stock of poop bags with you as well. So just be respectful of that aspect of it for sure. And then other etiquette is just, if you've got a breed that, doesn't get along well with dogs, be respectful of other dogs in your space. I'll never forget, I took Stone to a dog beach and he was fine running around with everybody else. We got him on his leash. We're leaving and a dog just came out of nowhere, just for whatever reason, picked on him and got in a fight with him. And that was, not a good reflection of the pet parents of the other dog, because clearly he wasn't in a good space. And you just need to be careful of their environment and making sure that they play well with other animals as you're going through that.
That is a good lead into the next question about managing pet behavior in unfamiliar situations. So just because your dog is well behaved at home doesn't necessarily mean that they will behave the same way when introduced to other things, other animals, different stressors. Just being out of their own environment can make them uncomfortable. So do you have any strategies for keeping your pet calm in a new destination?
Yeah, I think it's making them comfortable with traveling, trying to keep their routine as close to what it is at home. Because when you get pets in an unfamiliar environment or they're in a situation that they're not used to, their behavior can wane a little bit from that. And that's typically where you see challenges when they're in a new environment, they're not used to it, they get anxious, and that's where problems arise.
Sure. So maybe just a little bit of exposure therapy.
Always important. Yep.
What's the etiquette conversation that more pet owners need to be having but aren't?
I think it's really understanding, being tuned into your pet and understanding their emotional state. Are they stressed out? And then if they are, understand that it's time that you need to be tuned into that and to remove them from that situation and be respectful of others that they might be creating anxiety for too.
Let's talk about the situations that come up for pets while traveling that owners are least prepared for. Like, what are people just consistently forgetting to plan for?
I think the most important thing is accidents. There's always, they could get off leash, they could be stressed, they could have anxiety, they could get attacked by another dog, they could get into things that they shouldn't get into in a new environment. So those are all the things I think that are most important that could happen that you have to be careful of. Just treat your pet like it's one of your family members and be really tuned into their mental state and keep an eye on them so they don't get in trouble or off leash or bolt on you when you're not paying attention because you think they're calm, but they're in a new environment and they just don't know how to behave.
There's nothing worse than having your pet away from home and then escaping.
Oh, for sure.
My grandma did basically sheltie rescue all around the country for 50 years. And she would drive, a zillion miles to go help people find their dogs that got lost on vacation. And it's just such a stressful situation. So having the pets in the car and just making sure that they are so secure when you stop at the gas station or just
absolutely
double and triple check and make sure those harnesses are on. And
absolutely,
you just can't be too careful. You do not want to lose your pup when you're not at home. And you don't want to lose them at home either, but
for sure,
particularly in an unfamiliar location.
For sure. I think on that note too, there's another good practice if you're traveling with your pet is, at least we have for this guy, we've got a health tracking collar.
Yes.
So it not only monitors his health, but it also tells you where he is, and you can geolocate him on your phone.
So important.
So through Spot Pet Insurance, you have access to our Spot Perks, which is an additional benefit outside of our accident, illness, and preventive care. So basically, think of healthy pet lifestyle discounts. So we have a couple different health tracking collars there, so you can pick which one fits best for your pet and get a discount on it. But since we've gotten that one, it's been really a nice peace of mind.
Yeah.
It will tell you, for example, if he is excessively licking or barking or different health aspects of it. It's pretty cool. Kind of think of it as a Fitbit for your pet, and they've come a long way with the technology around it. Some of them even provide, how you're ranking as far as the number of walks you're giving. So it kind of monitors your exercise and incents pet parents to get out there and exercise their pet a little bit more. I think that's an important part too with traveling with your pet is make sure they're getting exercise because, it's easy to say, okay, they could sit inside, but most important thing for pets is to just exercise and get out and walk. And it's important to keep that habit up while you're on the road too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And when you're traveling, you have a lot on your mind.
Yeah.
You've got everything's new to you as well as your dog. So there's so much to think about. So it is good to keep them. I love the idea of sort of like an Apple Watch Fitbit for the dog. I'm going to have to get those for my pups. Well, walk us through how pet insurance actually works because I need this. This is the service that I absolutely have to get for my pets. So walk me through how it works and maybe give us a real life example of somebody who's used it while they were traveling.
Sure. So with Spot Pet Insurance, it covers accidents and illnesses. And then there's 2 levels of preventive care that you can add on to any policy. Okay. We see about 50% of our customers add on preventive care, which is shots, spaying, neutering, dental cleaning. When we have that separate, because some people get those wellness coverages from their vet, so we don't make it part of the core policy.
Gotcha.
But of course, an accident illness policy, and you can enroll digitally with AAA. You get a discount in most states, and you enroll digitally on your phone. It can take up to 30 seconds. We had one of our Spot employees get a quote while he was skydiving. So that's how easy it is to get a quote.
Wow.
You pick your annual limit. So for example, with my Labrador, he eats stuff he shouldn't have. So we got a $10,000 annual limit. With your your Pomeranian Chihuahua mix, you might want to get a $4,000 or $5,000 annual limit because certain breeds are less susceptible to accidents, usually small dogs. You pick your annual limit, your reimbursement level, 70, 80, or 90%, and your deductible. So it acts very much like human healthcare with some of the same components. You can do that all digitally. You can see a price that works for you and your budget and your individual pet's needs. And then you put in your credit card or however you want, credit card mostly, and you submit it. And then you can go to any vet. You don't have to change vets.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is great. So you don't have to
Doesn't have to
switch.
be in
it's not a network or anything like
nice.
that. You go into the vet, you take a picture of the vet bill, you submit it through our app, and then you can track the progress of getting your payment. And we're seeing on average 2 days, somewhere same day turnaround time. But at its core, we're an insurance company. And what's important to customers is getting their claims paid fast, having great coverage and amazing customer experience. And those are the things that we concentrated on at Spot. We pride ourselves in, and it makes the entire experience for the pet parent just very, very comfortable and easy, which is reflected in our reviews. And it's really as simple as that. We also do have a phone room. So if you're unsure of, I've got a new pet, not sure what this particular breed is susceptible to, I really want to talk to someone. So you can call and you can enroll through our call center. And we see about 10% of our enrollments come that way as well.
It sounds significantly easier to sign up for than human healthcare. So I applaud you for that. Do you have...
I would agree with that.
Do you have an example of maybe a customer who was traveling with their pet and needed to use their pet insurance?
My wife is in the travel insurance business. She's president of a travel insurance company, both longtime insurance professionals. Not sure how we got into insurance, but here we are. And when we first got Stone, about 2 years into it, and she goes, we didn't have any claims last year. We paid, I don't know what the premium was, but we didn't use it. And I was like, honey, because you didn't get in a car accident or you didn't, you didn't die, you don't cancel your life insurance or your car insurance. She's like, okay, we'll keep it for another year. And the next year he ate something he shouldn't have. That was the first claim for $4,000. So I'm a smart man, and I didn't say I told you so, but I was thinking it.
Well, it's one of those things that you don't want to pay for it. It's just an expenditure. It's just another thing on your list, but it's important to have. When I think about how much money out of pocket we have spent just historically on all my pets ever, and the emergencies and the stitches and just all the different things. If you have pets, you're going to end up in a situation at some point. It would be very rare to go through a whole pet's life cycle without ending up in the vet.
Yeah, and vet care is not getting any cheaper. No. There's an expectation of pet parents where you look back 20 years ago. I've talked to some of our vets on staff, and she's like, yeah, when I was first practicing, we could reuse instruments. We could not be as sterile in our environment as we are today. And it was fine. The care was still good. But now there's an expectation from you as a pet parent that you're going to get the same care with your pet as you would if you were walking into a hospital, sterile environment, MRIs, cancer treatment, all the same treatments. And that comes with a cost. And it's not getting any cheaper. And I think that many pet parents, unfortunately, don't anticipate what kind of new pet parents, especially the costs associated with that. And that's where pet insurance can really be a financial safety net for you.
It's shockingly expensive to be a pet parent. There are some real surprise expenses that can come up. And I am much more likely to drop $10K on my dog than I am on myself. Like I will just let my own health go straight to the grave. But my dogs are going to the emergency vet 100%. If they have, the slightest fever. They're getting special care. So for that kind of pet parent, I really think you need insurance.
And it's stressful too, because your child or your spouse or friend can tell you what they're feeling. With your pets, they can't communicate. You just know something's wrong, and and it creates that additional anxiety for you as a pet parent.
If somebody's never looked into pet insurance, what should they know about finding what's right for them?
So the most important thing I tell pet parents is if they've got a new pet, to make sure they get pet insurance before they take them into the vet for the first time, because all pet insurers, pre-existing conditions aren't covered. So if you go into the vet, a good example is my sister got a new Havanese puppy. And I said, Bailey, you need to get our pet insurance before you go into that. And sure enough, took Miko is his name, Miko the Havanese puppy, into the vet and found out he had allergies. Now, if she had done the reverse of that, those allergies wouldn't have been covered, but she already had pet insurance. So that's important. And then it's really important to know your breed, know what you can afford, know what you might be susceptible to. When I first got into pet insurance, I just thought the dog's a dog, but a pet's a pet, a dog's a dog. And then I started to find out, like dachshunds, for example, long backs, go figure. They have back problems. Kind of intuitive when you think about it, but I wouldn't have thought of that before. Pugs with the wheezing and all that stuff, they're one of the, and bulldogs are some of the most expensive pets to insure. Labradors eat things that they shouldn't eat. So there's a lot to think about that we can help you with. And our website is very intuitive. We do blogs all the time as well, to help people with understanding what they should be thinking about.
That is such a good point, that a dog is not a dog. You can get a small dog and have a whole host of issues to keep in mind, but a large dog, maybe 10 times the size, 10 times the price. So you have to think about those things, and also the fact that it's a lifetime commitment. So
that's a great point. It is a lifetime commitment, and it's best if you're in it for everyone to prepare it and then for the long haul.
Well, you never want to be in the position where something happens with your pet, something unexpected, whether you're traveling, whether you're at home, they can always get into stuff. You just never know. And that's why it's called an accident. But you don't want to be in the position where you have to make a terrible decision because of money. Because, $10,000 just isn't in the budget. And then you have to, lose your pet. You don't want to have to do that when you could save them. So this is so important.
On our best day here at Spot, I think if you ask every employee, it's when we're able to help a pet parent and take away that difficult financial decision that you just referenced of, can I afford care for my family member, or do I have to make the difficult decision of compromising my health care? I'm
just thinking in the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars I've spent on emergency vet visits in my lifetime and all my pets' lifetimes. If I could count on getting 70 or 80 or 90% of that back, my goodness.
Well, with him, I haven't totaled it all up yet or lately, but it's got to be close to $25,000. That we had the policy that gives 90% back. So we met our deductible, and our annual limit was $10,000. We went right up to it 1 year, but we got 90% of that back, and that's a nice vacation somewhere, or
human health insurance. You could get that too if it all works out. Thank you so much, Scott. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you.
And I'm going to go outside right now and sign up for Spot Pet Insurance. I really am.
Well, good. I hope so.
We need it.
And now you know where we all live. In case you have to file a claim or ask any questions, you can call us directly.
I will. I'll call your desk up.
Traveling with your pet can be one of the most rewarding ways to explore the world. With thoughtful planning and attention to their comfort, you can create a smoother, more enjoyable trip for both of you. A big thank you to our guest, Scott Taylor, for his insights and stories, and for showing us how the right approach can turn any journey into a safe and happy adventure with your furry companion. Testimonial provided by Spot Pet Insurance Services, LLC members. The views and opinions expressed in this testimonial are solely those of the individual providing the recommendation. No purchase necessary. AAA members receive a 10% strategic partner discount on all pets. 5% in Louisiana, Nebraska, Texas, Virginia, and Washington.
Not available in Tennessee. Discounts vary and are subject to change. Pet insurance products underwritten by either Independence American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and are produced by Spot Pet Insurance Services, LLC.